I told you that the plastic in your next car door was actually grown in a French vineyard?
Yeah, and that the software steering that exact same car
Ah.
was programmed in a Chinese tech hub.
Right, and to top it all off, both of those things are literally being bolted together right now in a historic Spanish factory.
I mean, it sounds like this crazy geopolitical puzzle, I know, but it is actually the very real blueprint of the modern automotive industry.
Welcome to our deep dive. Our mission today is really to just shortcut the massive learning curve that comes with buying a new car right now.
Because it is a huge curve for people.
Oh, absolutely. We're exploring the absolute latest innovations in electric vehicles and, well, the behind-the-scenes global strategies that are quietly making them more affordable and way more advanced than you might think.
Right.
Let's be honest, for you, the listener, walking onto a dealer lot today can feel completely overwhelming. You aren't just looking at horsepower anymore. You're trying to navigate, over-the-air software updates, completely new brand names, and terms like kilowatt hours.
Which is honestly a perfect example of the disconnect. The industry just throws kilowatt hours around, assuming everyone knows what it means.
Yeah, like it's common knowledge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But really, a kilowatt hour is just the size of the car's electrical gas tank.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a 50 kilowatt hour battery is basically a small tank for city driving.
Right.
And a 100 kilowatt hour battery is a massive tank for road trips. The terminology makes it sound like you need an engineering degree just to commute to work.
Totally. And that is exactly why we are unpacking this really fascinating stack of sources for you today. We're looking at the technical specifications and press releases for two radically different vehicles.
Right, two very different philosophies.
First, the brand new Citroën C5 Aircross. That's a vehicle heavily prioritizing comfort and really a painless transition into the electric world. And second, we have the Leapmotor C10, which is this aggressive, tech-forward disruptor.
Yeah, that one is fascinating.
And finally, we've got a strategic analysis of a massive new joint venture between Stellantis, the parent company of legacy brands like Jeep, Peugeot, and Citroën and Leapmotor.
Right, and these sources help us answer the really big question driving the market right now. Basically, how are legacy European automakers and disruptive Chinese tech companies teaming up to build your next car?
Okay, let's unpack this by looking at our first vehicle, the second-generation Citroën C5 Aircross.
Yeah, let's start there.
If you are someone who feels a little intimidated by the leap to pure electric, this car is essentially engineered to make the transition as gentle as possible. Citroën is leaning heavily into its century-old legacy of physical comfort.
They definitely are. They even call the cabin the C10 Lounge, framing it as this high-tech cocoon.
C10 Lounge, I like that.
Right. But the comfort isn't just marketing copy, it's highly mechanical. It features their signature suspension with progressive hydraulic cushions.
Which is pretty different from standard shocks, right?
Completely different.
Mm.
Normally, a car suspension just relies on a metal spring and a rubber bump stop. So if you hit a large pothole, the spring compresses until it just slams into that solid rubber.
And that's the jolt you feel right in your spine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Citroën uses these fluid-filled chambers at the extreme ends of the suspension travel. So as the wheel moves up sharply, it forces hydraulic fluid through progressively smaller holes.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so it slows the movement down smoothly before it ever hits a hard mechanical stop. It physically absorbs the harshness, giving it this highly touted magic carpet ride quality.
But I feel like the real story is what is sitting underneath that comfortable suspension. Because the C5 Aircross is built on a brand new architecture called the Stellantis STLA Medium platform.
Yes, the STLA Medium. That is a game changer for them.
And based on the specs in our sources, this platform is basically like a universal travel adapter. The kind you take to Europe that just lets you plug in whatever device you have.
That's a great way to put it.
Thanks. I mean, this platform lets the buyer plug in whatever powertrain fits their specific life.
They call it a multi-energy approach, and it's really designed to eliminate decision fatigue. Like if you live in an apartment and can't plug your car in at night, they offer a 48-volt hybrid.
Okay, so no plugging in required for that one.
Exactly. It has 145 horsepower, and it recharges its own small battery automatically just by capturing the kinetic energy when you hit the brakes.
Oh, wow.
And that recaptured energy allows the car to actually drive up to 50% of the time in electric mode while you're just, navigating stop-and-go town traffic.
That's huge for city driving. And if you want to dip a toe in the electric waters, there's the plug-in hybrid version.
Right, the PHEV.
Yeah. That one gives you 195 horsepower and over 100 kilometers, which is about 62 miles of pure electric range.
Which is fantastic.
It is. I mean, that covers the average daily commute entirely on battery power. But you still have this massive 55-liter gas tank that pushes your total highway range to 650 kilometers. It kind of acts as the perfect set of training wheels for EV skeptics.
It really does. And then, of course, you have the fully electric battery-only options.
Yeah.
You can get up to 520 kilometers of range with a 73 kilowatt-hour battery or a massive 97 kilowatt-hour battery that pushes the range to 680 kilometers.
Okay, wait, I have to push back here on the engineering physics of this.
Go for it.
A universal tool usually means it doesn't do any one job perfectly, right? If a platform is designed to hold internal combustions, gas engines, hybrid systems, and massive 97 kilowatt-hour electric batteries, doesn't it fundamentally compromise on passenger space?
You would definitely think so.
I mean, are we losing legroom to fit that giant rectangular battery under the floor?
It's a fair question, but the engineering data actually says otherwise. The STLA Medium platform was designed from the ground up with a concept engineers call white space.
White space, what does that mean?
Well, historically, automakers took a gas car and just tried to shove a battery into the trunk or the transmission tunnel, and that just ruined the cargo space.
Right, the floor would be weirdly high in the back seat.
Exactly. But this platform's baseline architecture was designed first and foremost to accommodate that flat, massive battery pack cleanly along the floorboard.
Oh, so the battery space was prioritized from the beginning.
Yeah, because that white space was baked into the design from day one, you don't lose a single inch of passenger space in the cabin. In fact, the wheelbase is actually 60 millimeters longer than the previous gas-only generation. So it offers record rear seat roominess.
Wait, so they didn't just maintain the space, they actually increased it.
Yeah, they really did.
And they didn't just innovate on the floorboards either, they heavily optimized the aerodynamics. The drag coefficient, the SCX number, dropped from 0.84 to 0.75.
And that decimal drop is crucial for electric vehicles.
So,
Well, when you're driving an EV on the highway, over 50% of the battery's energy is being spent violently shoving the air out of the way.
wow, 50%.
Yeah. So by optimizing the air intakes, smoothing the underbelly, and tweaking the roofline, they slice the air more cleanly. That specific aerodynamic improvement literally buys the driver an extra 30 kilometers of highway range out of the exact same battery.
So by changing the angle of the hood and the undercarriage by just a fraction of a degree, they are literally fabricating free battery capacity out of thin air. That's incredible.
Right. Pure efficiency.
And speaking of the physical build of the car, I have to bring up this sustainability detail from the source material because it blew my mind. 20% of the plastic used in the door and console storage areas is made from organic vine shoots sourced directly from vineyards in Burgundy.
Yeah, that is such a cool detail.
How does a vineyard byproduct physically become a structural car door panel?
It's a fascinating chemical process, actually. When vineyards prune their vines, they generate a massive amount of organic waste. So engineers take those dry vine shoots, grind them into a microscopic biopowder, and then blend that powder into the polypropylene resin used to mold the car's interior.
That is so smart.
Right. It reduces petroleum use, lowers the carbon footprint, and it even gives the plastic this uniquely textured finish. But functionally, I think it really grounds the vehicle in its European heritage.
Yeah.
It is a physical reminder that you are sitting in a car built with French legacy.
But, you know, there's a limit to how much legacy and physical comfort can drive the entire market. Newcomers to the automotive space aren't burdened by a century of mechanical history, so they are approaching the vehicle from a completely different angle.
Very true. Software first.
Exactly. And that brings us to our second vehicle, the Leapmotor C10. If Citroën is legacy and physical comfort, Leapmotor is digital agility and rapid iteration.
They move incredibly fast.
So let's look at the specs here. The C10 comes as a standard battery electric vehicle with a 69.9 kilowatt-hour battery, giving you 420 kilometers of range. But the option that really stands out is the range extended electric vehicle, or REV.
Yeah, the REV is super interesting.
How exactly does the mechanism of a REV differ from the plug-in hybrid we just talked about?
This raises a really important question about how the drivetrains physically function. So, in the Citroën plug-in hybrid, the gas engine and the electric motor are both mechanically bolted to the transmission.
Okay.
Either one can do in the wheels, but in the Leapmotor C10 REV, You have a smaller 28.4 kilowatt-hour battery that gives you 145 kilometers of pure electric range.
Right.
But there's also a gas engine under the hood that has absolutely zero mechanical connection to the wheels. It acts purely as an onboard electrical generator.
Wait, so the gas engine is just a mobile power plant charging the battery?
That's it. When the battery gets low, the gas generator just fires up to feed electricity to the motor. And because the gas engine isn't trying to accelerate the car up a hill or idle at a stoplight, it can sit at its single most efficient RPM constantly.
Oh, because it's not actually driving the car?
Exactly. It
Right.
just sips fuel while acting as a generator, which pushes your total comprehensive range to over 950 kilometers.
Over 950 kilometers. It's an incredibly clever solution to range anxiety.
It really is.
And the tech inside this cabin reflects that same modern approach. I mean, it's almost like a living operating system wrapped in steel. There's a 14.6-inch central high-resolution screen running on a Qualcomm Snapdragon chip.
It's very smartphone-like.
Seriously, it even has digital key sharing. So you can just use the Leapmotor smartphone app to temporarily text a Bluetooth key to a family member so they can borrow the car for the weekend.
And because the core architecture of the car is software-defined, it receives over-the-air, or OTA, updates.
Right, like your phone.
Exactly. The sources highlight this recent free update that beamed into these cars. It refined the adaptive cruise control, tweaked the lane keeping assist, and literally added a 360-degree dash cam feature that just wasn't there when the owners bought the car.
Okay, wait, I have to ask. How does a Wi-Fi update install a physical dash cam?
Well, they didn't magically beam physical cameras into the car, obviously.
Right, I assume not.
The C10 already had high-definition surround cameras built into the exterior for things like the parking sensors and lane keeping assist. The over-the-air software update simply rerouted those existing video feeds, telling the computer to take that data and start recording it to an internal hard drive.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they gave the owner a built-in dash cam overnight just by recoding the hardware that was already sitting in the driveway.
That is wild.
Right.
And it also has V2L vehicle to load. The system basically inverts the DC battery power back into standard AC power, meaning you can literally plug your camping appliances or your laptop directly into an outlet on the car.
It's a huge selling point for people who camp or just want backup power.
But I have to raise a skeptical point here for you, the listener, who might be thinking about putting your family in one of these. Leapmotor is a brand new automaker to many of us.
Sure.
A software update that adds a dash cam is really cool, but a line of code cannot save you in a 60-mile-per-hour crash. What about the actual physical strength of the steel cage?
What's fascinating here is that the engineering data completely refutes that skepticism.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Leapmotor C10 was put through the notoriously strict Euro NCAP crash tests, and it achieved a flawless 5-star rating. We are talking 89% adult occupant protection and 85% child occupant protection.
Wow, those are great numbers.
Very high. It even scored maximum points in the severe side pole impact test. But the detail in the Euro NCAP report that I think speaks volumes about their engineering is that the C10 was noted as a benign impact partner in a frontal collision.
Benign impact partner. What is the actual mechanism behind that?
So usually in a high-speed collision, a heavy, rigid SUV acts like a battering ram, right? It might protect its own driver, but its stiffness completely destroys the smaller car it hits.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The Euro NCAP engineers noted that the C10 is engineered with highly specific deformation zones in the front structure. These zones are designed to crumple and absorb the massive kinetic energy of the crash so efficiently that it actually reduces the shear force transferred into the other vehicle.
Oh, I see.
It protects its own passengers while actively mitigating the deadly impact force applied to the other driver. When you combine that structural integrity with their advanced radar systems, which, can autonomously brake for pedestrians and cyclists, it proves these tech disruptors are engineering physical safety just as rigorously as the legacy brands.
Okay, so we have these two incredible philosophies right now. We have the European comfort, the multi-energy platforms, and the vine-shoot plastics of the Citroën.
Right.
And we have the Chinese digital agility, the REE generators, and the over-the-air software of the Leapmotor. But here is the elephant in the room for the average consumer.
The price tag.
Exactly. How is anyone supposed to afford this? We are talking about massive lithium batteries, advanced radar arrays, and high-end processors. The affordability barrier is real, and it is keeping a lot of families locked into their old gas cars.
It is the single biggest hurdle to mass electrification right now. The technology is clearly there, as we've seen, but the economics are lagging. And that is exactly why the strategic partnership between these two massive companies is so critical to understand.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Stellantis didn't just write a check to borrow some tech. They acquired a 21% stake in Leapmotor for 1.5 billion euros, and they formed a joint venture called Leapmotor International.
Which is a massive move.
It is, and Stellantis controls this joint venture with a 51 to 49% split. They essentially secured the exclusive global rights to build, export, and sell Leapmotor vehicles everywhere outside of China.
It's a massive chess move to navigate the new European Union rules. The EU is tightening regulations and preparing tariffs to put pressure on imported vehicles, to level the playing field.
Right, trying to protect domestic manufacturing.
Exactly. So to meet Made in Europe requirements and avoid those import taxes, Stellantis is utilizing their massive established manufacturing footprint to localize Leapmotor's production.
Let's look at the Spanish factories mentioned in the sources, because I feel like this grounds the entire strategy in reality. They are planning to significantly increase production at the Zaragoza plant in Spain.
Yeah, that factory has a lot of history.
Right. This is a historic plant that has built 10 million Opel Corsas since 1982. And now they are setting up to build the new Leapmotor B10 right alongside an all-new, fully electric Opel SUV.
It's pretty wild to think about.
It is, and they are also looking at the Villaverde plant in Madrid to build future Leapmotor models for Europe and the Middle East, potentially even transitioning ownership of that plant directly to the joint venture. But let me ask you this, are they just moving production to Spain purely to evade import tariffs, or is there a tangible benefit here for the consumer's wallet?
If we connect this to the bigger picture,
Right.
it is both. Yes, from a corporate standpoint, it insulates them against geopolitical volatility and tariffs.
Sure.
But for you, the listener, this partnership is the specific mechanism that will drive down the sticker price of your next car.
Okay, but how does building a Chinese car in Spain make a European Opel cheaper?
Let's break down why an electric car costs so much in the first place. It's not just the raw lithium, it's the research and development.
Right, the R&D.
Developing a proprietary battery cooling system or, writing the code for an adaptive cruise control array takes 5 years, thousands of hours of safety testing, and literally billions of dollars.
It's a massive investment.
Exactly. So Stellantis doesn't want to spend 5 years and billions of euros trying to figure out how to build a highly efficient electric motor from scratch for their next family SUV. Instead, they look to Leapmotor, who has already built, tested, and mass-produced these components.
I see.
That upcoming European Opel SUV built in Zaragoza won't just share a factory floor with Leapmotor, it will share the underlying Leapmotor architecture.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Stellantis buys those pre-validated, highly efficient Chinese parts at an immense scale, skips the billion-dollar testing phase entirely, and immediately slashes the final sticker price of the Opel.
Okay. It's making sense now. So Stellantis gets to internally source Chinese tech speed and supply chain maturity, and then they apply those massive R&D cost savings directly to their own European legacy brands.
Exactly right.
They get French and European manufacturing excellence and quality control combined with Chinese cost competitiveness and tech agility. It bridges the price gap for the consumer without forcing them to compromise on the technology.
It accelerates the timeline for affordable EVs by years.
Yeah.
They aren't reinventing the wheel, they're just sharing the blueprints.
So what does this all mean? If we look back at the journey we just took, we started by looking at how organic vine shoots from Burgundy are physically molded into the door panels of a profoundly comfortable, multi-energy French SUV.
Quite the starting point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We then explored a tech-first Chinese EV that uses a gas generator to achieve 950 kilometers of range and updates its own dashcam software over Wi-Fi. And finally, we looked at the historic Spanish factories where these two worlds are physically merging to cut billions in R&D costs.
It means that the overwhelming, confusing car lot we talked about at the beginning is actually evolving rapidly in your favor.
Really?
Yeah. Behind the scenes, these massive global entities are sharing platforms, sharing supply chains, and sharing software architecture to ensure that your next vehicle perfectly blends luxury and tech at a price tag that actually makes sense.
It is a massive global puzzle coming together right in your driveway. We want to explicitly thank you for taking the time to go on this deep dive with us today. The goal of this show is really just to help you learn more about the reality of electric cars.
Because it's a lot to take in.
Navigating this future isn't easy, but taking the time to understand the engineering and the global strategy makes that car lot a whole lot less intimidating.
It really does. And, I want to leave you with a final, slightly provocative thought to mull over.
Okay, let's hear it.
We've talked about a legacy European automaker dropping a Chinese tech ecosystem into their cars and a Chinese brand building its software-defined vehicles in a historic legacy Spanish factory.
Mhm.
Are we witnessing the end of a car's nationality? Think about it. In 10 years, as these global joint ventures deepen and supply chains fully integrate, will the concept of a strictly European car or a strictly Chinese car even exist? Or will every electric vehicle sitting on that dealer lot simply be a global citizen,